Hello all, this is Seema Govil with FABLIFE360. As you know, we have this very important episode today, Elections 2020, and we have been talking about climate change, healthcare, COVID mismanagement, economy, and now this is the final segment of my show, and I have my guest. Ali Hasanali is a prosecutor, author, and has been involved heavily with campaigns over a decade. And Ali joined Desi Blue to further his passion of organizing the South Asian communities and serves as a member of TSB, Texas core team. And he's also co-lead in developing persuasion content and strategy for TSB and assisting in relational data analysis of South Asians in Texas. As I mentioned earlier, and Nidhi as well, that Henna and Ali and Nidhi, who was there with me earlier, are members, core team members of Desi Blue, and Desi Blue is committed fully for this elections to make a difference, to make South Asians vote, make the right decision, give them information so that they're cognizant of what's going on and they don't regret later, because later, if we don't vote and if we don't vote for the right party, there are going to be decades that we'll have to live with that, not just years. That's the kind of importance this elections has. So Ali, thank you for joining me.
Thank you.
And I want to touch the topic of racism, which has been very, very hot this year. Should have been always there, but since 2016, it has come a lot more. So, first of all, you went through school, college, you grew up here. How do you feel as a person of color, as a professional, still being a person of color, growing up and in your jobs?
Sure. I often attribute a lot of my activism and my interest in it is from the fact that, I was in 8th grade when 9/11 happened. So I can tell you from being in high school during the start of the Iraq War and being called a terrorist every day, I can talk about, misperceptions and how suddenly South Asians and specifically Muslims suddenly became part of the national talking points for this country, and of course not in a good way. And I can tell you that one of my legal internships, I worked for the Council on American Islamic Relations in DC in 2011 for a summer, where one of my jobs was to filter through hate mail on a daily basis and manage and oversee a skew of religious discrimination complaints from around the country, including a lot of hate crimes. And the whole point I mentioned this is racism is endemic, it's systematic. It is not just saying, it's believing that when something bad happens to a community or someone from a community that it's deserved, or that somehow your community is somehow better. And especially if we're part of a coalition here in this country, we have to recognize even when it seems like we're doing better, are we doing better because it's better for all of us? Or are we doing better because it's at the expense of someone else? Because a lot of times our inherent, and I say us as South Asians, some of our racism and our biases actually end up hurting not only other communities, but our community indirectly as well. So I'll give a great example. I'm a prosecutor, I'm in criminal law, right? And one of the things that happens is we're often very dismissive about African Americans, their plight, or sometimes if you're a small business owner like my dad was, a convenience store, you have these stereotypes. If someone walks in and they look a certain way, you think they're going to steal, you think they're going to do something. Well, it turns out that those negative kind of perceptions, what ends up happening is if we call the police and the police come, well, you know what, they might do something to that individual, but they might do something to us as well. At the end of the day, we're still a bunch of brown people in a country that was built on white supremacy. And, we often have people in our community, right? We're a product of imperialism ourselves. There's the amount of times I hear people from Pakistani background or Indian background talking about Pakistani or Indian politics and bringing that here as if, the general American community doesn't look at us and think we're all the same. Mm-hmm. Like Seema, I didn't do you think the average person would tell you're not Muslim, or they would be able to tell that I'm not Hindu, or would even know the difference? right? But we
No.
act like it's such a big deal when it isn't. We're all treated the same at the end of the day, and we need to start treating each other the same and not selling each other out, because the only way our community can really work together to build this and fight the discrimination we feel and we experience and the discrimination of others is to recognize we are part of this bigger community.
The thing is that what some people might not realize is living through that skin color every
Mhm.
day, being aware and being
But it's not just skin color. I mean, I want to be clear about this.
yeah.
I was, I can tell you as a lawyer, I remember being told by different partners that the reason why I didn't even get an interview is because of my name,
Name.
was because of how I look, right? Um, that there's this, especially for fields where we're not typically that prominent in, and the legal field is absolutely one of them. It's not healthcare, but we do face that uphill battle, and of course that's compounded, right? So if you feel one discrimination because of your skin color, you feel another because of your name, you feel another because of your religion, you feel another because of your gender, you feel another because of where you came from or your accent. All these things accumulate and make it even tougher and more obstacles to overcome. So I want to, skin color is one of it, but really we are experiencing biases on a whole uh, variety of different fronts. And it's just going
Yeah.
to keep.
No, you're so right, because we got all colors, all different kind of skin colors, but that hasn't changed anything for any of us. We are lighter or
And in
darker.
our community, right,
Yeah.
the racism we feel against each other, whether you're South Indian or North Indian, how fair your skin is, even the little stuff of, oh, don't go out in the sun, oh, cover your head, like I remember what my parents told me, oh, it's the middle of summer, you're getting too dark, right? All those things, that mentality, and I do consider it an imperialist mentality. That's what we were taught, that the fairer you are, the closer you are to that white ideal, the more better off you're going to be. We have to get rid of that, not only within our own community, but how we treat others as well.
Yeah, the colorism, ageism, racism, everything is out there, and you want to be like, just be you. And it's so cool. Like when I started exploring in the world and I wanted to do something here, and I remember someone telling me, oh, you get paid because you are a hardcore American, not just because you are an Indian. I was like, why not? Why can't I be paid as an Indian? And I kind of took this as a challenge. Like later on, I remember every decision when I was changing my career, I'm going to do something as an Indian that nobody else can do. I can do as an Indian American. I don't have to do, and I want to be accepted. I remember volunteering in my kids' school. I says, I want to do something that to bring to the school that I can only bring to the school, that no
And
one else can.
and I'm sure so many of your listeners understand, when you're that sole person of color in a room, there's that extra level of burden. I can't tell you, as I can just say as a lawyer, the number of times I've had to be the Muslim lawyer. I've had to be the person to speak on behalf of my community, whatever it may be, in a room, just so we would have representation. And it's really important. And this is, if there was no other reason, this is why we need to elect Joe Biden. This is why you need to elect Democrats up and down the ballot. I can tell you just point blank, minorities are never going to win elections as Republicans, not in any significant numbers, right? The only ways we've been able to accumulate power as a community is through the Democratic Party. And I can speak for that for sure here in Texas. And not only that, it's when you get into positions of power what happens. I got elected by one of 4 African-American district attorneys in the entire state of Texas, of 254, okay? He made it his point to hire diverse attorneys, including myself. We went from having one person of color who is South Asian to having 4 or 5, right? And that makes the whole office different, right? It means we can treat victims better, right? If you're talking about one of the reasons, and I know we were talking about this offline, why you need to elect Joe Biden, let's talk about the courts. I know we're going to spend a lot of time focusing on the Supreme Court, where, okay, we need to make sure we have a progressive voice, but Trump has put in hundreds of federal judges across the trial court level, the district court level, the circuit court level, and including the Supreme Court. And you know what? there isn't that many people of color, if any at all. There's definitely not an Asian, right? And why is that important? Because if we elect Joe Biden, we have a chance, and the Senate, it's really important that we elect senators too to get this done. We will have judges who look and sound like us. And that is why this is so important, right? Because it's not just lip service. It's not saying, oh, this person is going to do this. It is about actually elevating people from our community into positions of power. So that way, we're not saying, please, please, please. We're saying, this is what we're going to do. We're actually taking direct action and making ourselves a more integrate part of the American fabric. Yeah, I've had judges in Fort Bend. I'll tell you, there is nothing. One of the courts I was in, we have a Desi judge. We had 2 Desi prosecutors. You better believe when you came into that room and you see everyone in a position of power in front of you as someone from a South Asian community, it's never happened in this country. But you better believe that people felt like, oh, this is actually going to be a fair system. And that's why we need to elect Joe Biden, because Democrats are not going to just have better policies for us, which they are, but more people from our community are going to get to participate and be part of the American fabric. We're going to get appointed. We're going to be on commissions. We're going to be boards. We have a better chance of getting elected. And that's going to be how we as a community get more power.
Thank you. Yeah, I was just going to ask you, and you brought it yourself, like totally, like how is Supreme Court so critical in making a decision for voting this year? You know, not just our president. The Supreme Court stays so powerful.
The Supreme Court is incredibly important, but I can't stress this enough. The judges who are going to have the most impact on your life are going to be at the lowest level. I know in Texas, we elect all our judges. Your local district judge or county court of law judge, your JP, Justice of the Peace judge, your municipal judge, the ones who hand you speeding tickets. Trust me, they're going to have a much greater impact on your life, because an issue that you might face may go up before the Supreme Court every once in a while. But the stuff that it actually impacts you, the majority of law that's created, that's happening on a local level. So you need to pay attention to your judges just as much as we pay attention to our legislatures. I was a political director for Sri Kulkarni. We created one of the largest API outreach relational organizing systems in 2018. What we're doing at Desi Blue is taking that to the next level, okay? The most important thing you can do this election, and I'm speaking to all your viewers, all your listeners, okay, is do something, volunteer, be a part of it. Because Desi Blue, one of the reasons why I'm so proud of this organization, is we are the largest South Asian volunteer network in politics across the country ever, okay? And every person who volunteers even an hour, even 15 minutes, and calls your friends, text them, make sure they vote, it just amplifies everything we're doing. And let's face it, every Desi is at least 1 degree of separation away from every other Desi in this country. We all know each other. Or if we don't know each other, we know somebody who knows each other. And it's going to be imperative on all of us that we get our entire community out. Because if we do that, it's not only going to be a change for this country, it's going to be a change for our community, and it's going to be a watershed moment for South Asians in America.
Thank you. Yeah, please, as what Ali said, next few weeks, as you're hearing this, go into the website, DesiTheysee.org. So Desi also works out, and because we are all Desis. But Desi Blue has been commendable, has done commendable job. Absolutely, volunteer, donate, do whatever you can in the community, help out. Everything, as he said, will help a lot. And then you can look back and feel really good about yourself later on. So thank you so much. And I will see you next time, and appreciate you joining this very important panel today.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.